Hi guys, it's Sarah from Book Nerds and Fangirls, and today I will be doing something a little bit different. Usually I post just book reviews on this channel, but I'm actually starting to think it'd be a fun idea to talk about books and their adaptations. So I'm doing this new series called Book versus Movie, and I'm excited for this one because my first choice of book versus movie is a Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. So, to be fair to everything that is Harry Potter, I am rereading the Harry Potter series. This series might take me forever to get through, which is why it's both in my December and January TBRs. I already read the first one. I'm excited. I'm already currently 5 to 6 chapters into Harry Potter and the Chamber's Secrets. I don't have that movie in my possession yet, but I know we definitely sell it at where I work. So I'll be picking that one up relatively soon. But today I want to talk about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. Book versus movie. I'm gonna start off with the book. Because it goes without saying that the book is so much better than the movies are, because they leave out a lot in the Harry Potter series. But yes, I get it, they cannot make hour-long things that were hours, because these are children's books. I actually had to get 3 of these books from the library, which I had to go into the children's section, and I didn't really want to be a creeper, so I asked one of the librarians, you wouldn't happen to have a Harry Potter series, would you? And she let me into the children's section. Well, actually, it was a guy that did that. Actually, he's one of my friends, so that was cool. So I got 3 of these books, and I'm hoping to finish them, but let's face it, I'll probably just get to the Order of the Phoenix, or at least the Goblet of Fire, or the Prisoner of Azkaban. Never really know if these books, how long it's gonna take, and how my schedule's probably gonna get busier because of the holiday season, because the joys of retail. But back to the main focus, which is Harry Potter and Sorcerer's Stone. There was not a lot of things changed in this one, but some changes that really made me kind of ticked off. But let's go into the characters at first. I'm not gonna go through all the Harry Potter characters, because there is just so many Harry Potter characters. I'll go through the main ones and a little bit of the side ones that are important to the main storyline. But if you are looking for me talking about Luna Lovegood or Cedric Diggory, they're not here yet, so I'm not gonna go through all of them. But first off, I want to get into Harry Potter. Harry Potter himself. Harry is pretty much how he's like in the books. Series, so it's not really a drastic change for Harry. Harry runs a little bit more snobbish in this one, in the book, than he is in the movie. Because Ron's a little bit nicer to Hermione in the movie. And they did cut out a scene from the movie that had a lot of development between Harry and Hermione, which I didn't like personally, but they did keep in a couple of unnecessary scenes, which I'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, and Hermione was a lot more annoying in the book than she was in the movie. I prefer movie Hermione a little bit over book Hermione at the moment, but I know I'm probably gonna like book Hermione better than movie Hermione. It's probably because Emma Watson plays movie Hermione, and I'm a huge fan of Emma Watson and her feminism movements that she does. So maybe that's why I'm totally into Emma Watson. But one thing I really don't like about Harry Potter in general is how much they downplay Hermione as a wizard. wizard. And that's something I want to get into with the movie, because I'm gonna go straight into the things I cut that might have been important to the essential movie story plot, which I don't know if they have it in the Chamber of Secrets. I know it's probably a huge part of Chamber of Secrets, but I want to talk about the movie scenes that they've cut out, the ones that I did appreciate and the ones that I did not appreciate. The first scene that they managed to cut out in the movie, which I did appreciate, was the very beginning of Harry Potter. We go straight to Albus Dumbledore delivering Harry to the steps of his Uncle Vernon in Aunt Petunia's house on Pivot Drive. But the movie skips a lot of the boring background story of the Dunsleys, and I personally hate the Dunsleys, but of course you're supposed to hate the Dunsleys because of how awful they treat Harry and how much they hate him just because he's a wizard. But one scene that made me kind of irked a little bit that they did not include was whenever Vernon is in his car and he sees a bunch of wizards passing by in cloaks and stuff, which would give us a really good introduction to the difference between muggles and wizards. And they don't really include a lot about muggles in here. They refer to muggles a lot in this story, but they don't really show the difference between wizards and muggles, which I didn't really appreciate. I know they can't have everything in Harry Potter, but I would like to have something about muggles in here, even if it was the slight significance of what I mentioned about Hermione. Well, I'm going to mention about Hermione in a minute. Another scene that got cut was, of course, they had to cut a few scenes with the Dunsleys, but they also cut out a character, which was Dudley's friend that went with them to the zoo. I don't know what his name was. Forgive me, there was a lot of characters in Harry Potter, so I can't remember each one of them, but they cut out his friend. They also cut out how really bratty Dudley is, because, my god, you think he was a brat in the movie. He's brattier in the books, and I just hate it. And it's funny because they cut out most of his whining to his Aunt Petunia to his mother, that he doesn't want Harry there. It's like, they cut out that, and they cut out the fact that Harry was technically not even supposed to be at the zoo, that his babysitter canceled on him, and how much they really hate Harry. They didn't really, they did the best they could explaining why they didn't like Harry, but I thought the plot was a little cheated a little bit on that one, because the Dursleys, or the Dunsleys, Dursleys or Dunsleys, I can't remember, really don't like Harry because of James and Lily Potter being wizards, which is another thing that kind of irks me, is that we never fully get to understand the relationship between James and Lily Potter, and I think they had this weird thing in Harry Potter when Hagrid was explaining how his parents died by the hands of Voldemort. It was just this weird CGI looking thing. Then again, I know that they couldn't really do a lot with it back when it was released, but still, it kind of bothered me a little bit. That, and they skipped over a lot of the punishment that Harry got for doing his magic. They skipped that. They skipped the fact that his Uncle Vernon actually moved him from the basement to Dudley's old room. They forgot to mention that part of the book as well. They like cut out a lot of parts, and this is actually one of the shortest Harry Potter stories, so it's gonna probably really irk me whenever I watch the rest of the movies, because I know there's gonna be a lot more cut out on that. Another thing that they seem to cut out is a lot of the Dragon Alley scenes. Like, they got a lot about the Dragon Alley wrong, actually, and it really irked me. They did not give us 2 of the meetings with Draco Malfoy. The first one being him and Harry meeting in the robe shop. We don't know it's Draco at the beginning, but I could tell by his voice that it was definitely Draco in this. And, you know, it's okay to cut out some meetings, but when they cut out a lot of them, it makes me a little bit irked. And I know they had to move the process along, but that would have been a nice scene to see how much Draco really is a little bit of a he's a little bit of a pansy, but he's also a real big bully. Bully in my opinion. But I still love Draco's one of my favorite characters. Characters in the series. Is definitely one of the most memorable for me, besides the main cast. But you know, it makes me kind of ticks that they didn't have that first Draco meeting in there. With it, they also excluded the scene where Harry personally gets Hedwig himself, nor do they mention what Harry names her in the first place. There's just this random L, not gonna mention Hedwig, or what she does, or anything about her, or elves, or the importance that animals have to wizards, and their choice, or they could choose. They briefly mentioned that, they skimmed over it, but a lot of what happened at Dragon Alley was the meeting with all the professors, which I'm glad they kept in, because one of the main ones was villain in this one, and the second one was the wand, and that's a very important scene, because the wand that Harry gets could only make 2 of them. One of them went to him, and the other one went to Voldemort. So Harry possesses the other wand that the Phoenix made, and I'm excited. I was very intrigued by that. Another scene that they failed to put in was the fact that Hagrid did not take him to the station, the train station. It wasn't Hagrid that did that, it was Mr. Vernon that did that, and the mockery that he did that. Another scene that I wish that they would have kept in was the begging scene where you know, they have that one thing that they have to go on. I wish they would have kept that in because I think that would have been really cool to see how that machine would have worked and how fast it actually went. I would have loved that visual in the movie, but they cut it out of the movie, which really made me sad. But there's a lot to talk about, so we're gonna move on. Another thing that Harry Potter left out was that Ginny seemed really brave when meeting Harry, but Ginny is this really shy person at first, and movie Ginny seemed a little more confident than she should have been. And I know there is a huge difference between movie Ginny and book Ginny, because people prefer book Ginny over movie Ginny. And I had to say, I prefer book Ginny too. at this point, because Book Jenny had this charming and endearing presence for her, and she is, without a doubt, one of the ultimate Harry Potter fangirls. But that wasn't even brushed upon in this one. Not to mention how much of fanboys Fred and George were also. Also, it was only briefly mentioned with Ron and Hermione too, because everyone knew Harry's name and yada yada. Yada yada. I do love the rendition of Molly Weasley though. Molly Weasley is probably hands down one of my favorite paternal figures out there ever. She's just so awesome. And whenever they talk shit about the Weasleys, I am ready to throw down a Draco Malfoy at that point, even though he's a fictional character. So let's get to other scenes that they cut out. Of the train, wow, so much that they have cut out already, and I'm barely, a couple minutes in the movie, but they cut out the fact that they also met Draco on the train, and they're bullying Ron and other stuff like that. They also left out a lot of Neville scenes, which I'll get to in a minute, but one of them being him looking for his frog. This is where the introduction of Hermione comes in, but she does not have Neville with her, and it really irks me because Neville and Hermione actually really do have a really solid friendship in the books, and it's not really brushed in on the movies. Hermione wants to help Neville find his toad, but it seems more of a nuisance to her in the movie than anything else. And of course, she's a smartass in both the books and the movies, but she's a little bit more of a smartass in the books. And I thought Emma Watson did a pretty good job of carrying on that smart-ass remarks like it's Leviosa, not Leviosa. It was amazing. And for such a young actress at that age, they were all amazing. She was amazing. They were all amazing. Which I don't know what point they mentioned this in the book, but in the movie they really downgraded Hermione a lot. They failed to mention that she is the only witch in her family. She was born to both both her parents are human. No one in her family is a witch or wizard. It just happens, and I've loved for them to brush on that fact in the movie, and they totally blitzed over the fact that Hermione's parents are both muggles, and she is the only way she knows how to do things is by reading, and I think that's a pretty huge part of Hermione's character development, and I don't know how they could have skipped that, but I'll let that slide for the moment. Let's see. Other things that they forgot. The Sorting Hat ceremony was pretty much point on for me. Draco being, you should watch the company that you keep, and I love Harry. Harry is a lot more sarcastic and witty and funny in the books. While Daniel Radcliffe does have that wittiness and charm down, the sarcasm, I think, really wasn't there. They also cut out I'm just gonna do cutouts now that I've noticed. Because there's this whole thing. They left out the fact that Snape despises James Potter. I think that they left out that fact. How truly envious he was. It might be in the other books, but they left out a lot of things about Snape. And when Snape is so far my favorite Harry Potter character, hands down. And it's not just because Alan Rickman plays him. I love book Snape too. to, and how they failed to see it was like, it was just, Snape, to me, just seemed like this really concerned teacher in the books. They didn't really show other aspects of him being evil, and it just irked me a little bit to no end. They didn't really give mention to James and Lily Potter, and how he went to school with them, and how he didn't like James because of something he did. Oh yeah, they failed to mention that too. They failed to mention that James saved Snape's life once, and he didn't really like that, which is why he doesn't like Harry. I thought that was a pretty important part of the storyline that they should have probably put in there, but didn't. Because Snape is a really huge character in both the book and the books and the movie series. So I thought, they could have humanized Snape a little bit more. More like how he was doing a counter spell to Professor Quirrell's spell which they didn't keep in at all. Another thing that they failed to mention was the whole dragon scenario with the Weasleys. They gave mention to Charlie Weasley in the movies, but there was no mention of Bill Weasley. And I know Bill Weasley isn't a major character in this, but neither is Charlie, for that matter. They had Percy the Perfect. He's technically a prefect, but they call him Percy the Perfect in this movie, and they cut out a lot of scenes of Percy as well, and as to why they call him, like, I wanted them to keep Percy the Perfect in there, because they call him Percy the Perfect, and that's something I wish they would have kept in, as well as Ginny running to the train and falling on her ass, and Harry laughing. I wish they would have kept that in, because there's so much Ginny and Harry moments that they cut out, and it really irks me to no end. Another thing that they cut out was I'm gonna go to the Christmas thing, because the troll thing was okay. It didn't really leave much out. But another thing was the Christmas presents. They left out the fact that they briefly mentioned that Mrs. Weasley had made a sweater for Harry, but I wish they would have had something about that in there, like him opening the presents, and Fred and George, of course, were there saying, hey, we got one too, and them dragging Percy the Perfect to the Christmas dinner. I wish they would have had more of the Weasley family dynamic, because they're a pretty knit bunch. They defend each other like no one's business, and I totally love the Weasleys. They're like my favorite family, like, ever, but they left a lot of that out, and it really irks me now seeing it, because Molly Weasley is the ultimate mother. I love Molly Weasley to death. And it really makes me unsatisfied that they cut out so much of this book. Another thing that they cut out is Ron getting injured. I forgot how he got injured. Per se. I know it had something to do, it might have had something to do with the dragon. I'm not 100% sure about that. They left out a lot of the cloak of invisibility, which I'll get to in a minute, because they leave out this huge scene where Ron is in the hospital for whatever reason, and Harry and Hermione are left to use the cloak of invisibility to get Norbert, I don't remember his name, it's a dragon's name, up to Charlie, because they mention briefly that Ron's brother Charlie works with dragons, and I think this is where they missed a little bit, because why would they mention that if Norbert wasn't gonna go to Charlie like he did in the book? It just didn't make sense to me. Since to me, they say, like Hagrid said, that he got sent to Romania, but he didn't say that he got sent to Charlie Weasley. Charlie Weasley, because what they did was Harry and Hermione used the cloak of invisibility. To get the dragon up to Charlie's men so they could take him back to Romania for Charlie to study him. So they forgot that huge part of the storyline. That and the fact that they really downplayed Neville in this story. Because Neville doesn't even seem like a friend to Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Rich. It really irks me because Neville is also a huge part of this story, and they totally cut some scenes. Like the scene where we get to the Forbidden Forest, they cut out more characters, which, by the way, I forgot to mention that they cut out Peeves. Because Peeves is the ghost that is the comic relief of this story, and they cut out a lot of scenes with Peeves, and because Peeves is not in the Harry Potter movies, and I don't know why. They have every other ghost except Peeves. And the only reason that the director gave us is that he did not like the way Peeves looked, which really peeved me. But another thing that they did was that they replaced Neville with Ron, and Ron wasn't even supposed to be in the Forbidden Forest. He was supposed to be resting up when McGonagall caught them, and they forgot the little things like Snape taking points away from them for Gryffindor, but I'll get to that in a minute. Because it goes with another thing that is in this book, but they failed to do the Forbidden Forest right. First, starting off with the fact that Ron wasn't supposed to be there. It was Neville, because they got caught by McGonagall, and Neville was warning them that McGonagall was coming for them, and that's how he got detention in the Forbidden Forest with Harry, Hermione, Neville, and Draco, and those were the 4 that were supposed to be in the Forbidden Forest, and they got the order wrong again. Like, Harry was supposed to go with Hermione, and Draco and Neville were supposed to go together, and they left out how much of a little shit Draco really is by scaring the shit out of Neville, and Neville, shooting up beams in the air that were supposed to signify danger for Hagrid. They also brushed over the unicorn thing a little bit too much for my liking. They also, left out 2 of the 3 centaurs that were supposed to be in there. They didn't mention the fact that that one centaur, forgot his name, sorry, wasn't supposed to save Harry at all because it messed up Fate's decision to kill him off, and they're not supposed to interfere with Fate, and they didn't brush on that, and that irked me to no end. But another thing about Neville is that he was mad at Harry for getting him into this situation in the first place of detention and taking points away from Gryffindor, and so many people were mad at Harry, Ron, and Hermione that they would not talk to them because of Gryffindor stuff, and how much Harry didn't want to play Quidditch after that. They had one Quidditch scene with Snape. They forgot to mention the second Quidditch game that's in here, where Snape is supposed to be the officiant of there to make sure nothing really goes wrong with Harry and other stuff. They totally cut out that scene. Oliver Wood had very few lines, and I do love Oliver Wood in both the book and the movie. And they just left out a lot of parts, and it really made me mad. Another thing that they left out, I'm getting more into the ending in the movie because it's taking a long time for me to point these out. Let's see. Another thing they left out from the books was the Hagrid giving Harry a flute so he could sing the dog to sleep. That scene wasn't done right. They did keep in Quirrell's harp, which I guess is awesome. It's right, and they did get a lot of this movie right. Like, the aesthetic was pleasing, and the spells were awesome. It was like, it really did seem like they kept as close to the book as they could. And I know they can't do everything, but two things that really irked me about this are the final scenes in this book. They did not, like, when they were going through the trials of getting through the door, they showed, like, Hermione beating the devil's snare first, but that's not how it really happened in the book. Really, she knew before that she wasn't supposed to be in that. She got off of them as quick as she could, escaped them as quick as she could, and I guess it was just how it was visually shown to me that I didn't like. I don't know. No, but that kind of irked me. The second one, all of them got on their brooms, not just Harry. So there is little tiny insignificant things cut from the final thing. Another thing was the chess set. That one was okay. The chess one was the most reliable to the book. And one thing that irked me is that they cut out the fourth trial, which is the potions trial, which is the one Snape did. And another thing that really irks me is that they mention these things to us, but they don't, really show them to us, because they said, why would Snape do that to the stone when he's protecting the stone? But nothing we see in the movie shows that Snape is protecting the stone. Well, in the book, Snape's trial is making a potion that'll get them through the black and purple fire, and that wasn't in the movie. So how are we supposed to know that Snape is actually really protecting this stone? And it leaves, like, they keep the touching moment between Harry and Hermione in there, but it wasn't as touching as it would have been if they just kept the fourth trial in there. But everything about, like, the Sorcerer's Stone was on point, except, explaining why Snape does what he did. That really upset me, because that's a major thing in Harry Potter. Why skim over that? And yeah, it really irks me, because Snape's one of my favorite characters, and to leave out this huge plot thing irks me. And they might have, like, briefly skimmed over that. I was paying attention, but at that point I was tired, so I might have missed it, but they didn't mention it. They also failed to do Quirrell failing at the mirror as well. They didn't do that scene. Everything else about that was on point, except, I like how, Harry burned him when he touched him, and he was like, poof. And other stuff disintegrated, Actually, Harry passes out from doing that, so I don't know why they only had him pass out whenever Voldemort passed through him. That was really weird, and it wasn't in the book, but oh well. Whatever, I'll get over it. But yeah, that was it. I didn't particularly I liked the ending well enough, but I didn't really like the fact that they cut out that Harry said he was gonna mess with his cousin during the winter break. It wasn't Hagrid giving him the idea. It was Harry coming up with the idea himself, and I didn't particularly like that. They made Hagrid, Hagrid is a major character, but I would really love him to have interactions with all the other characters, It's like, why are they even here? here if you're not gonna use them. Like, there is a lot more in-depth character development in the books that they aren't in the movies, and that is it, you guys. And that is it for that part. And the next part I want to go is book versus movie, and I think it's obvious for this one that I'm gonna award the award to the book because the book was better. It was lagging in a little bit things, so I'm gonna give the book 7.5 out of 10 stars and the movie 7 out of 10 stars. I know I'm really harsh on Harry Potter, but for hearing it was such an epic series, I was a little let down by the first book, and I know it'll probably get better, but the first one is definitely not gonna be my favorite. But there you guys go. That was my first book versus movie with Harry Potter. Comment down below and let me know what you thought and what your thoughts are on them cutting the scenes from Harry Potter that were some were important, some were not important, but what did you guys think? Were you irked that they cut out the scenes? Comment down below and let me know, and I will see you guys for the next book versus movies where I will do Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Ooh, see you guys then. Bye!